time now to take a look at what the French papers are saying this Monday morning. Diptyka Laurent is with me in studio. Morning, Diptyka.
Hi.
This lengthy interview by the French president, I imagine getting some coverage?
That's right. It's pretty much making the front pages of all the French papers here. The French president did give that interview to 3 French newscasters yesterday, in which he really defended his reforms, the reforms that his government has been leading on labor changes, taxes, and all sorts of other sort of changes. And he also tried to fend off this image that he's a president of the rich. Le Parisien's front page: unemployment, training, wealth tax, security. The paper pretty much sums up the core ideas of that interview. Not very exciting, let's be honest, Eve. That's why the website BuzzFeed has helpfully put together what it calls the non-boring guide, or the non-boring summary. Things to retain from this interview, according to BuzzFeed. Things like the fact that everything seems so strategically placed, from the decor to the strategic placement of books, folders, paintings. It all seems so staged. The website Slate has helpfully put together a diagram, as would have been seen by the French Language Academy. The president used a really unusual word at one point, croquignolesque, which means ridiculous. You'll also see that he spent a good time of his interview trying to avoid saying the word rich, and he spent a very little time using common layman language.
Indeed, a lot of people have been picking up on the language used in that interview.
Well, Macron has softened the tone. That's what Le Figaro says on its front page. But he has remained firm on his ideas. That's really the feeling from the right-leaning paper. Le Figaro says, sure, Macron had some soft words for France, a France that's, quote, suffering. But his determination is still intact. He wants to free up the economy to kick off growth. He also wants to tackle issues like national security, terrorism, climate change. Did he convince? Well, Le Figaro says he probably didn't convince everyone, but at least his message is clear. He's not giving up. Now, Libération, the left-leaning paper, is not so kind on the French president. They say he hasn't changed much from the beginning of his term, a term marked by right-leaning policies. Réussissez, bordel, the paper says. Succeed, for God's sake, as though it were that simple. That's a message from Macron to the French people. But Libé's editors say, well, in sparking this competition of everyone against everyone, it makes for a very strange society.
And there's another paper that hasn't been too kind either, L'Humanité, particularly scathing.
That's right, particularly scathing, but they're really no friend of Macron either, right? The communist paper. Equality and fraternity, it's nothing but a decor. That's what the paper says in this article, really in reference to a big painting strategically placed behind Macron.
Did catch my eye, I have to say, that painting.
That's right. It was kind of a painting with France's national motto on it, and it was definitely placed right behind him, in perfect view during the interview. The paper says even when he defends himself from accusations of being elitist, his defense is even worse than the declarations.
Okay, moving on now, and there's a hashtag that has gone somewhat viral here in France, women denouncing sexual harassment.
Well, it comes from the fallout of the Harvey Weinstein scandal last week. The hashtag balance ton porc, or squeal on your pig, has been used by women on Twitter to reveal their cases of being sexually, physically, verbally assaulted or harassed in the workplace. The hashtag was launched on Friday by a French journalist, and it's already garnered 50,000 tweets, according to Libération. But will the backlash last? Well, one journalist says, you know what, in 2 days it's all going to blow over and we're going to forget this ever happened. What we really need, according to this journalist, is stronger repercussions for men who abuse their positions of power.
And there is a new bill being debated by members of parliament here in France against sexual violence.
Well, the Under Minister for Gender Equality has revealed this bill that will be discussed from next year onwards, in particular looking at, for instance, prolonging the statute of limitations, that period that lapses between when a crime is committed and when a person can be brought to justice. So they want to make that longer to sort of be able to try for crimes back in the past. The minister has also reiterated the shocking reality that in France, just 1% of rapes end in convictions, which is really a shocking statistic.
Yeah, quite depressing statistics. Very quickly, Diptyka, there's to something a lot lighter now. A tennis star who's opening his third restaurant, but with very different clientele.
That's right, Novak Djokovic. This story comes from France's biggest regional paper, West France, which reports that Novak Djokovic has opened his third restaurant, the second one in Serbia, in his home country of Serbia. This one, though, will offer food for free to the homeless or those in need. The tennis star says, money is not a problem problem for me. I've earned enough money to feed all of Serbia. I think they deserve it after all the support they've given me.
Oh, I like that happy story to finish. Diptyka Laurent, thanks so much for that review of the French papers. Of course, back later in the morning with that international press review.